And we're back.
Welcome back, Shawnee.
Thank you.
So, welcome back, everyone. The Vitality Check podcast. We are two today. Mr. J Bone Turnbull is on vacation.
Yeah. Vacations.
Back from vacation, maybe fully rested.
Oh yeah. I feel good.
There you go.
Definitely
Nice.
rested. Out there, it's not hard to rest, right?
No, absolutely, yeah.
You got a nice little bronzage going on, a little
No,
sun-kissed.
very nice, very nice.
Oh man, no, it's good to be back though.
Yep.
Like say, summer. It's funny because I always think this before before you go on vacation. We're very fortunate to do what we do and to help people every day, and it doesn't feel like a job to come to work every day, right here. And
Yeah.
hanging out with you guys and helping people and connecting with our patients and stuff, and it's very, very. But the flip side is you still need to remove yourself from the daily, kind of the daily monotony, right, and just change things up. And so, as much as I do love to come to work every day, it is nice to be away from it, right?
Absolutely.
And so yeah, we had an incredible vacation. It was fun. I mean, you've had come to our family cottage in New Brunswick, and it's just a incredibly peaceful place to rest and recover, and
Great spot.
create new memories and remember ones that I had as a kid, and now my kids get to experience that, and we had another set of friends come this time, and they as well. As I say, it's just fun to share that place with people I love. So it's very, very it's awesome. There's seals swimming in the bay and porpoise and eagles flying overhead, and you're catching crabs on the beach and climbing on the rocks and just watching the tide roll in, right? What's that song? Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty priceless, man. So,
Awesome.
Yes, that was a long-winded answer to I am well rested. So.
Well, it's important. The well resting for what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Is how do we adapt to change? We're in August. We're kind of heading into the new shift into the beginning of fall, if you want to say.
Yeah.
Not to make people mad, but school's starting. I guess that some people will be happy about that.
Yeah,
maybe some not. So that's what we wanted to discuss today is how do you recharge your batteries? How do you get ready for change? What are some key factors to kind of adapting to change and being able to go through things like that with a little more resiliency? So that's it. So we, in the summertime, obviously, we're coming off like being on vacations or getting into another beat of, there being more light and we often get into different routines, like kids are home or all these different activities are going on. So it's a different beat than when everyone's in school and they're back to their routine. So maybe that's what we'll start off with today is like, what are some of the key factors to helping us transition into this time of change again as September rolls around?
Yeah, we were just getting our monthly newsletter ready, and I think that this podcast will support the theme, which is as Kev so cleverly came up with the title of this month's newsletter is cooling down and gearing up, right? Because I'll pat him on the back for that one. It's pretty smart. Nice little play on words, but yes, and it might be wherever you are. It might be kind of funny to think we're cooling down because we're currently in a heat wave right here, and
relentless.
Summer's been hot and muggy, right, where we live, and but what we mean by that is things are gonna the summer heat will inevitably start to cool down with respect to, as we say, the activities, the days start to, they were the nice long summer days will start to shorten, right?
So on that note, that's number one, I would say, that we say to patients all the time.
Yes.
Is the sun will start to decrease.
Yes.
So as the sun decreases, so does vitamin D.
Yes. Yeah.
So one thing for sure is that's one thing we make it a point as these times start creeping around is, you know, optimizing the body. And one of the biggest things in North America is the vitamin D deficiency is where we live, is the lack of sunlight is crucial, or a big part into why a lot of people are deficient in vitamin D and develop a whole bunch of kind of things due to that. So
Yeah, so talk to your healthcare provider.
yep,
D3, K2,
yep,
very important. Back in the olden days, they used to take cod liver oil in the winter months, which,
that's
funny
right.
enough, has vitamin D, D3, K2 naturally, right? It's a little different than some of the other oils, but they somehow knew that they needed that, and other things, fermented foods, and all sorts of things that you can do. Um, to help combat the lack of light, and that we'll get into that. That's a whole podcast
Absolutely.
in and of itself. But yeah, Kevin's definitely right. The sunlight is so important, and the different, actually, morning light is very important, right? The different wavelengths of light, and if you can get up in the day and expose your eyes and skin to morning rays, you're actually better able to handle the afternoon rays, which are a little more intense and
Yep.
um, a little more can be to some damaging to the skin, right, or to the body. But yeah, very important. So that's one of the topics, right? And then we're talking about the importance of as the summer kind of fun winds down, it's taking stock of where you're at, and then you're going to be, very much so gearing up for the return to, or the school season for a lot of people,
Yeah.
but also work. I mean, most of the world kind of functions on these seasons, right? So, that could be a lot, right? A lot of people are happy that kids are going back to school, and a lot of people are sad, right? And it depends on where you fall on the spectrum.
And it could be quite chaotic,
Yes.
getting all that preparation done
Oh,
to
the
go back
prep,
to
yeah, the
school, and
school
then
supplies, and
often too getting your kids in the mindset to go back to school. And
yeah.
so, there's a lot to handle, a lot more. And again, like, so how do you keep that calmness within the chaos when things start to go through change? Because any change we do, like even when we talk about us, like Sean said before, like we were so lucky to have the privilege to actually, deal with people and help them on a level that is so gratifying for us, like it. But people are going through change every time we see them through here, right? Through whether it's a physical change, getting rid of pain, often too helping them with any interrelationship, psychosomatic, and some discomfort they're having in their body, whatever that is. Going through change is difficult because the body kind of has this reluctancy to go towards something new.
Resistance, right?
When we're looking at this, it's new in some senses because it could be, obviously your kids are going into a new grade, or uh, a new challenge perhaps, or leaving a particular, elementary school, going to high school, or high school to CJIP, or to wherever they're going, in university, college, or whatever it is. So whatever the stage of life, there's there's always going to be some challenges that we face where we go through some change. So um, we that's what we wanted to touch on today. What are the biggest factors to look at to help yourself adapt to change better? So one of the ones we discussed, and for sure gets derailed a little bit in the summers, everyone's sleep.
Hmm.
So either people stay up later just because it's nicer out, or people tend to be on vacation more, and also maybe having more uh, parties with friends and things like that. So, the opportunity to stay up later and to do things out of the context of routine that you're normally used to are definitely there, right? So
Hmm.
that would be number one, is making sure, excuse me, making sure you're getting adequate sleep. So whether if you're someone that goes to bed past midnight, well, then I would say that probably you want to start going to bed a little earlier, making sure you're getting some of those restful hours of sleep that are so needed for recovery in the body, and helping you have that adaptability to what's going to come the next day. So that would be number one. Obviously, with sleep too, there can be some issues. Like a lot of people have issues with sleep. So what are some things that we can do to help make sleep easier? Well, there's definitely getting, which is one of our other topics, is a breath technique you could start doing to optimize balancing of your nervous system. So the breath stuff's pretty easy because it's, a really basic nasal breathing technique that you can do where you can breathe in 4 to 6 seconds through your nose, 6 to 8 seconds out, lowering your kind of respiratory rate per minute. So the idea there is to help optimize how oxygen is exchanged in the body. And by doing that, you're actually balancing your nervous system a lot easier. Mm-hmm. So the whole point is putting yourself in the right state to be able to have adequate restful sleep is so important. That's why a lot of people don't have it, is just because their nervous system is always too on. So those would be some ways to optimize on that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's, again, thinking about just rhythms of life, right? When we start to kind of turn things down in the evening, I think it's what I said is exactly what needs to take place, right? So you want to avoid excitatory stimulus late in the evening, and just kind of wind down, calm the nervous system. Stare at some candlelight, read a good book, turn the lights down, right? Get away from those LED lights, get away from the blue screens, and then
constant Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the constant Wi-Fi. Even we recommend turning the Wi-Fi off in the house just to give yourself a break from whatever the unseen stimulus that your nervous system is always dealing with. It's behind there, even though you can't see it. It's there. Some people can even feel it, right? If you're kind of
more sensitive
to those things. But yeah, maybe just turning off the Wi-Fi while you sleep to help recover. It's that ebb and flow of life and the checks and balances. So it's not that all things are bad all the time, or all things are bad. It's dose dependency, right? So just giving yourself that opportunity to actually rest, And we think mind, body, and spirit, and looking at your environment and saying, okay, mentally, how can I turn off the hamster that might be running around in there, and that's through breath work, through meditation, guided meditations. There's so many apps and YouTube and all sorts of things you can do. Journaling, we're big fans of journaling, right? Downloading your day, just getting whatever's in the subconscious, off of your mind and onto a piece of paper is so simple and yet so powerful. And you can, you could be a to-do list, if you forgot to do shit, or you need to do stuff, or whatever, things that are bothering you, or things that you need to work through, I don't want to forget this. Just dump it on, do a brain dump it onto a piece of paper, spend 3 to 5 minutes, and then close the book and go to sleep, right? It's, it'd be so powerful, but that can help the mental load and the emotional load, right? And try and do that consistently for a week, and your sleep will improve drastically. Do it for a month, and you'll see some unbelievable changes, right? And it's so simple, and it's free, right? It costs, you can get a book on Amazon, for a journal on Amazon for
sure
$9 if you want. And
good point on that, because it is, they say, actually writing, not typing.
Yeah.
So yeah, good point on the pen to paper.
Yeah, pen to paper
method instead of writing on your phone.
It's a therapist in a book, right? And
yeah,
my favorite quote is, I heard someone say this, and I don't know who I could kind of give props to, but it's the best book you'll ever read and write is your own. It's your journal, right? So it's like, you can write your thoughts, write your emotions, write your experiences, whatever. Start simple. Start with the simple exercise of the brain dump. And it will, as you get through kind of getting stuff off your chest or off your mind, it'll open up doors to potentially more creative writing, right? Because you're just getting the kind of the
noise out of the way.
The noise out of the way, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because ultimately, that's it. That's what holds a lot of people down. It makes it difficult to go through change, is the fact that they hold on to things so much,
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, like sometimes it's very hard because there are certain things we we don't necessarily want to deal with and or address because they're too painful. That's why a lot of people don't like going through change, because it can be painful. So it's just remembering, if you make it a point to do like Sean said and suggested, is to do things a little bit every day. What tends to happen is you start to empty that glass, so you're not getting to a point where you're overflowing, and then it's very difficult to address it when it's in crisis like that,
Yeah.
which a lot of us do. We're all kind of victim of that a little bit, where if we let things pile up too much, then it becomes very
A bigger
or
problem.
yeah, a lot more
Yeah.
difficult to deal with. So
So
that
that's good, right? For sleep and for change, right? And making sure you are rested.
yeah,
And I've often said this, my ability to parent and or to, be a good therapist or chiropractor to my patients, be a good husband to my wife is directly proportional to how well I've slept, right? And
yeah,
it's literally that simple. I have patience and kindness and empathy when my tank is full, as Kevin was saying. When things aren't overflowing, or when I have a space, when I have capacity to buffer stress, and sleep is probably the biggest thing that is overlooked, right? So navigating change. So just be mindful of that. You don't necessarily have to say yes to every barbecue or every, and I'm guilty of that too, right? It's,
yeah.
it's fun when you're in it, and you're like, oh, these days, we were joking before, you got to squeeze the juice out of what's left of the summer
Yeah.
and go hard. But you don't have to, right? Just remember that you can say no, you can try and get to bed. And on the flip side of another thing that comes to mind, I mentioned it earlier, but for good quality sleep, it's getting up early, getting that early
Mm.
daylight again. And we've done a whole podcast back in the day, back when we were doing Facebook Lives, all about the pineal gland and melatonin production, serotonin and melatonin, and how important daylight is to that. Because your melatonin, most people supplement melatonin, but you don't need to. You just got to get up early and get outside and get some daylight, right? And don't put lenses over your eyes. Don't put sunglasses on early morning, because it's the early morning light that will start the process and then cascade your way through from production of serotonin, right? We talk about brain health and mental health and
Yeah.
emotional health and all the different neuropeptides that the body naturally produces. You have this unbelievable pharmaceutical company within you, and you just need to get some exercise. It's quite simple, right? It's like that nothing in the
Excellent.
world is better than
Yeah.
just some natural daylight and some exercise and breathing in fresh
Listening,
air.
like we
Yeah.
said, the general rule of thumb is listening to what you need.
Yeah.
Like when you've had enough, and maybe you need to go do some activity, or even just go for a walk, or taking a few moments to kind of calm down and do a few breaths, just to try and balance the nervous system a bit. Like all these things, if we really pay attention, and the more you do these things, you start to be a little more in tune to
Yeah.
what your body needs. Sometimes it's, oh, I need to go potentially have a treatment done because
Actually, that's a big one.
I
Yeah.
feel like, I'm piling up a few things. I've, done a lot of stuff during the summer, and I just feel like I'm a little bit off. So people start to get really wise about what they actually need. And when you start to listen to that more, the body tends to be a little more cooperative. So, which then leads you to being a little more in alignment with yourself, and being less reactive, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would recommend everyone, the people always wonder when they come see someone like us that they're like, well, how often do I have to see you? And yes, listen, there's the recipe is different for everyone.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're not throwing all of your hope into us fixing you and your problems. You're doing what we're, coaching you through and assessing and moving well and thinking well and eating well and doing these things and sleeping well, right? The basics that everyone needs to everyone and dealing with your shit, right? Your issues and stuff, right? Because the physical, mental, emotional toll of life will add up quickly, right? So,
Yeah.
but it is still good to do maintenance, right? So, I would argue, this is my opinion, but at least seasonally you should get checked, right? Change the season, because it's like, you know, things are happening and life is changing, and the external world is changing, but you also are adapting to the external world. So
Yeah.
you're adapting to your environment, right? You are literally molded and cast by your environment internally and externally. So it's like the change of season is an amazing time to see someone like myself or Kevin or Jason or anyone. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter who you go see. It's just like, just address things, get a tune up, get a check in, and it'll give you an idea of like, oh, things that you might need to work on
Mm.
through the next season, right? And yeah.
One thing that the seasons always make me think of too is that it's just to remember, and this is for everyone in reference to like their, if they're going through some rough times or are having pain or having a hard time adapting to things, is this nothing is permanent,
Yeah.
right? So just like the seasons, everything comes to an end and then shifts into something again,
Mm.
into something new. So they're the law of impermanence, like, so the Buddhists talk about this all the time. It's so just remember, when things are tough, or you're going through a rough time with change, just know that even that is not permanent and that you will get through it. Just stick to the things that feed you better,
Mm.
like knowing, like, yeah, I need to move better, more, I need to eat better, I need to potentially address more of the offloading of the things that stress me out, and do some things to help my nervous system adapt better by calming it down more often and teaching it that, okay, I don't need to be jacked up to level 10 every 2 seconds of the day,
Mm.
So
Yeah.
nice,
So
nice.
we'd mentioned this though in the newsletter. It's just, again, moving through change. As the seasons are coming to an end and you're moving through into a new one, it might not be the best time to like go go crazy in the gym, for example.
Mm.
It might be time to do more of like the yin stuff, right? The supportive stuff. So we mentioned this, like the making sure you're getting adequate rest, right? It's like,
Right.
when maybe things are, when new habits and patterns are forming, or like the the I guess the new routine hasn't quite set in yet, and you don't know where you're at, and you're kind of, it's like more of the like gentle walks, right? You got to move, and yoga and restorative stuff, right? So to kind of allow you to move through into that next season of life, and
More
then
progressively. Yeah.
yeah, more progressively, and
Yeah.
just and more
Makes sense.
and because it's like, again, there's, as Kevin alluded to, life is kind of like this empty, or this glass, right? And you're adding to it, and if you don't kind of like take care of the checks and balances, that glass can quickly overflow and things can get out of hand. So if you're always managing the, how much room you have, or the capacity, your capacity, because everyone's is different, your capacity to buffer the stresses of life,
Mm.
right? And making sure that you have empty space in that glass to manage that, you're gonna be able to take care of things, right? You're gonna see when
Mm.
other things are kind of
Yeah.
out of whack. Um, so that's it.
One last thing maybe is like one thing about change too, the adaptability to change is makes me think about it because we were discussing a few things before we got on, and stepping out of your comfort zone is actually a huge way to create adaptability to new things, and get your nervous system used to something that is outside the box of your comfort zone. It's like Sean doing an open mic
Yeah.
during his during his VK,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Or cold exposure, right? And
cold
talking,
exposure,
yeah,
doing talks that you wouldn't have done before, meeting people that you maybe, whatever it is for you, like there are things that, take a chance sometimes and allow yourself that opportunity to explore and see what that gives you back. You're going to be surprised at how rewarding it is.
yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. We talked about that, but yes, I did, you know, get up and sing in front of a group of people um, at an open mic night in the Maritimes over my break, and it was actually really fun. But yeah, I had a moment of, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
What
What
am
am
I
I
doing?
doing? I'm a campfire singer and probably a shower singer my whole life, and but lately I've been more into music, and I started playing ukulele and guitar with my son 2 years back, and trying to sing along while I'm playing, and it's been fun. But yeah, that happens kind of like serendipitously or
Yeah.
spontaneously over vacation, where a friend of ours had invited us to an open mic night with the kids, and it was a great day by the beach. And then as the night went on, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I signed you guys up," and another buddy of mine. And yeah, we did 3 songs in front of everybody, and it actually turned out really well, and it was fun. I actually had a blast, and it was cool because my kids were there, and they were coming up, they didn't standing next to me as we were singing. But I had this thought post,
Yeah.
and it's interesting in life. Like you get through a certain phase, and the first phase of life, you're constantly encouraged to try new things, like every day.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this actually this morning because my son, talking about change. Well, we just had 2 weeks of family time and vacation, and he last night he couldn't sleep. He did not want to go back to day camp today. Like he didn't want to go back to camp, and he got up early and he's crying and he's sad. And anyways, we kind of let him, just go to sleep in our bed. We'll talk about him. Kelly was amazing. She just listened to him and talked to him and kind of just heard through his, whatever his fears were. And she said, drop off was not the easiest, and it'll be better tomorrow. But a little bit of kind of panic attack and whatnot. But eventually, he was able to work through things. But it's the doing things. I think like how
And the
often
working through,
and the working
allowing
through,
him to do that.
right?
Yeah.
But before I went up to sing, I had a moment of, oh my God. And it's funny because like we'll do this podcast. I'm okay. I'm comfortable speaking in front of audiences and stuff, but it was just something I hadn't done.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but so yeah, I agree. I think if you are looking for trying new things, like don't stop trying new things. I think that's my whole
For
whole
sure.
thing. And like putting yourself out there, and most people want you to succeed anyways. There are rarely assholes in the audience. I kind of
Sure.
that's the most people
Well,
want.
especially when the intent is good, right?
Yeah, when the intent is good. So try new things and put yourself out there. But no, that's awesome. And we just wanted to dedicate this episode to a family member of ours who passed. We had some bad news over the speaking of change, right? We had a really good friend pass away last week, a patient here from our clinic, and we know, and all the extended family and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
lots of love to the Burns family and the Carson family. We're thinking about you guys, and yeah, we're here in any way you need us. So,
Absolutely.
but we'll dedicate this episode to our buddy Greg. So, yeah. Anyways, so next time we'll see you guys next time on the
Yeah.
Vitality
Always
Check.
always a surprise. We don't know what we'll talk of next, but it'll be good.
All right. Have
All right,
a
guys.
wonderful week, and we'll see you guys next week.
Take care.